Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Diary of a Property Pro. We're going to discuss, is what happened in the past a sign of what's likely to happen in the future? If it is so, what has been the experience in the past that we can connect to what's happening just now? How to get round your own doubt and what to do if you face a situation where you're getting some critique or criticism that you don't like, how to handle it and what to do, and why in business you should expect that things aren't going to go your way, and how to keep resilience up and determination high so that you can push through. And if you do it, how much that is worth to you, and it is a worthwhile thing to delve into. So without further ado, let's dive right in.
Me like many others, I don't think that it doesn't look like it if you don't look at it in the grand scheme of things, because maybe my knowledge and understanding of the full picture isn't there yet, like many others. But from what I'm seeing, things are great.
I wrote this yesterday. I wrote this down for that thing we were discussing. We didn't have a chance to go through it, but one of the things that I wrote was the people that I'm speaking to that have been through a crash know that it's coming. And the people that have never been a crash they think that it's not possible. And it's that experience of being through it that you know.
As I said,
as opposed to not, you've not been through that cycle yet. You've not been through the full cycle. And when you don't think when you've not been through the cycle, you go, I can't possibly. And
what I said there 2 minutes ago, like, I've probably not got the full knowledge and understanding of the full picture.
Yep.
I'm only seeing what I'm seeing and what I know, because I've never been through it.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a good thing to touch on for people, like obviously the new starters as well and coming into business, of how an investor who's been through it sees it to how an investor who's not been through it sees it.
Yep. So a great example of what that's like is, I'll give you an easy analogy. Right, you like Tenerife. How many times have you been to Tenerife and seen snow?
Never.
Right. So you've never been to Tenerife and seen snow. So you'll never expect snow. Right. How many times have you seen snow in Scotland?
Did they?
This morning. Right. So it's about when you're in a place where it's never happened, it's hard for you to comprehend that it happens. But when you're in a place where it happens often, you now expect that it's just the way that it happens, right? So that's an easy way to understand it, that you go, well, that's just the way it happens. But if you're not put in the places, you don't know. So if you look at, we discussed trading and investment banking before we were on air, and there's the business cycle, 7.9 years is the average business cycle. And what happens is it starts off, it builds, it has a real rise, it gets euphoric, and then it crashes, and then it begins again. And that is called the business cycle, right? So there's things that happen within that business cycle that take place. But the key thing to remember is it's 7.9 years. If you get someone who, the average career length in the sort of high-end financial world, particularly for traders, is 5 years, right? And it's 5 years because it's an extremely difficult job. It's an extremely high pressure job. It's an extremely well paying job. But a lot of people burn out. 5 years is the time where they burn out. So they'll go in, they'll make a lot of money, but they're cooked. If you go into the business cycle that's 7.9 years long, and you start at year one, and then you check out year 5, you've never experienced the full cycle. Right, so you would believe that it only is based on what your experience has been, and you've had 5 years experience. So of course you're going to think that you've got enough experience, but you haven't actually completed the full cycle. And when you speak to people, or I've spoke to people that have done that 5 year stint versus the people that have been through 3 business cycles, the guy that mentored me had been through 3 of them.
Wow.
Right, so 3 periods that were 7.9 years long on average, and had been through them. He had his view, wisdom and experience was completely different to the one that had been through it for 5 years and never experienced the cycle.
Is that the same for people that are starting in the middle and going for the back end of it then, instead of like people are just starting from the start? So for instance, if you're somebody that's just starting out and you've never been through that first part of the cycle, you're not getting the full picture yet as well.
So everybody starts out. I mean, the difference being is when I got started, I was going through. There was a sharp rise and then a sharp crash, and I had chosen weirdly the time where it was all crashing around to go full tilt into it. So my experience was in complete chaos. So the time of the credit crunch is when I went full tilt into investing 100% full time. And that was in the time when everybody was running for the doors. Everybody was looking to exit. Everybody was just, evacuating the ship. So I've got a different experience from a lot of people, because a lot of people come into it when it's rosy and it's great and things are looking good and it's a great idea. Not many people come into it when it's like, mate, this thing's a sinking ship, get out at all costs. So it gave me that ability to understand what it's like at that point in time. So it gave me a real sharp lesson that a lot of people don't get instantly straight away at the start. And one of the things that I noticed with investors at that point in time was I'd caught the tail end of the hype, right? So the 06, 07 boom time, then the false dawn, like we discussed in episode 11, the false dawn, which is, right, it looks great, surely it can never end, right? And it doesn't look like it's going to, like, it doesn't look like it can possibly crash, and then fucking wham, it crashes, right? And all the guys that have been there and done it knew that the crash was coming, right? And all the guys that had never been through it were like, it can't possibly crash, it looks great. I'm speaking to agents are selling it. Look, buyers are coming to the market, it's never looked more buoyant, booming, right? And that was exactly what it looked like in 2007. And then 2008, so 2007 Northern Rock had the run on the bank. Right, I think it was August 07, I need to double check the time, but it was around the tail end of summer. Everyone was queuing outside Northern Rock to take the money out of the bank because they were in trouble because of these mortgage-backed securities that they were involved in. So they had a liquidity crisis which triggered people thinking they wouldn't get their money out of the bank. That's not exactly how it works, but it was the perception. So people are queuing saying, look, give me my money back because you might go under. So that was a big sign. And what happened, the market went on for a year of high time. It kept pushing. It
doesn't just happen then.
It doesn't just trigger. And
that's what we're seeing just now then. So
so we're seeing this period in time where, so the trigger method is slightly different this time, and the catalyst is different, but the fundamentals of why it's likely to crash are very similar, right? So to explain what they are, right, in 07 there was people getting access to mortgages that they would have never afforded. So these mortgage companies were giving people mortgages that were highly unlikely to pay them back. So what is the catalyst? The catalyst is these assets, which are mortgages for banks, are going to become non-performing assets, as in people can't pay them, right? So they go from good to bad, right? That's the fundamental thing. Now, in this time, what we don't have is people that are just getting mortgages thrown at them that will never pay them back. Like Dion, the stripper, that is buying 2 million quid apart, houses in Vegas, doing self-certified mortgages, which was what was going on in 07. Like people that had, like, a hairdresser on 20,000 a year is getting a 2 million quid mortgage because
how could they let that happen?
They were self-certifying that they were making a lot more money, and they weren't doing the checks to see that what they were making would matching what they were putting forward. And that was,
look at the checks that they've got in place.
Yeah,
now.
and this is what I mean, is they're putting the checks in now. But the critical thing from 07 is these loans were considered good, and they were at some point going to go bad. And that catalyst was they were building up a Jenga block where people just weren't going to pay, but the market was so hot that it was still rising. And they thought, look, it's tied to the house, we can sell the house. So even we'll get the money from selling the mortgage into these mortgage-backed securities. So the banks are making big fees, and they're classed as really good because they're mortgage-backed. So it means that there's an asset that's attached to the loan. and if the loan goes bad, then we'll sell the asset and it'll cover the loan. There's no downside, there's no risk. And this is what a lot of the time where I'll see new businesses, and it's one thing that I've advised on several businesses where they believe that there's no risk because they haven't been through this. They haven't been through a crash. And I'm like, see, what you think is no risk doesn't exist, right? But they believe that there is. The catalyst in 2007 was that these loans would go from great to bad, but what they believed was they could sell the house and recover the loan. But they've done it to such an extent that if they start flooding the market with properties to sell, then the prices will all come down, and that's what caused the crash. Because there was such a wave of these non-performing mortgages that produced all these properties going on the market at once, and then there was the people that funded them were the ones that caused the problem, as in the mortgage companies, who were now not lending, and that was what the credit crunch was. So there was a credit crunch, as in nobody was lending to be able to buy the stuff that they were trying to sell, caused by the big, huge Jenga block that they'd built. So there was like the flow was really, really messed up. And the dynamics now are not that that's happening. What's happening is there's been lots of loans given out on a really cheap interest rate at 1%.
It sounds different, but it's not similar.
It's a different route to get to the same place. So why would they become performing to non-performing, which is people can pay them and now they can't pay them? Well, that looks like this now, as in they're on 1% interest rate, and that now, as we discussed before, is going to be in the ballpark of 4 or 5%. So 4 or 5%. Now there's going to be a likelihood that there's a lot of people that took it at 1% that can afford it that now can't. That mortgage goes from non-performing to non-performing. Then the method is the banks start to repossess, they put them on the market's flooded with these properties. Who's going to buy them?
Yeah.
Right, because the mortgage company gets hit disproportionately because they've pushed the market up, and now they go, well, who can we lend to? You need the lending part to be able to get the buyers out the other end to solve the formula. And this is it's a slightly different route to the same place. The fundamentals are the same, but the story's not exact. But to me, I'm like, right, look, you can't have this huge wave of values going up that's been pushed up because of the cheap interest rate. So in 2007, the values were pushed up because people were getting mortgages that they never should have, right? So that pushed the prices up. This time it was a cheap interest rates, and that's pushed the prices up because people can afford higher and higher mortgages because the interest component's low. So it's the same look, right? And there's no, like, you can't figure a way where, right, that caused a crash then. Why would it not cause a crash now? Because they look really similar.
Yeah.
And this is where, like, because you've been through it, you go,
guys like yourself been through it, people you're talking to that have been through it as well are seeing it. Guys like me who have only been in property maybe 5, 6, 7 years, and other people that I know are going, this is great, man. Everyone's fine. It's like properties the market has changed a little. Like properties aren't going for as much over home report, or there's not as many closing dates, or they're not going. The property prices have dropped a bit. Yes, that's happened, but still a lot of properties in the market. Still a lot of people buying. Everyone's great. And as you said, it's like the false dawns. It's the kind of thing that's happening. So it's good to kind of see that from both angles for people to understand that.
Like, I don't want to be right. Like, I don't want to be right about this, because if I'm right, then there's a lot of pain ahead, and if there's a lot of pain ahead, then there's a lot of people that are not going to come out of this unscathed. So I do not want to be right, but it's not, when you're an investor, it's not about what you want, it's about what you can work out, and then how to position yourself properly based on that, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And that
preparing yourself, and something we're going to go into as well, is like how we're preparing for it and how people should probably prepare for it as well.
Well, like, for instance, if you want to prepare for it, the best strategy that you can deploy, and I've said this as far back as when I predicted the recession in the UK back in August 2023. So 6 months to the day, the UK declared that they were in recession. I think it was January or February this year, and I'd said in August 23, it was like the UK will be in recession within the next 6 months, and right on 6 months, UK entered recession. So it shows you, like, I'm plotting what happened before and I'm matching it up to what's happening now, and literally it's falling as I've said, look, this is what's likely to happen based on what I've seen before, and it looks very similar to that, and here's what happened then and here's what's likely to happen now, and you're seeing it play out. And it's like, right, what do you do then? Right, so the property market as a whole isn't completely kaput, right? There's going to be parts of the market that you don't want to go near. So like the 3, 4, 5, 600 grand McMansions where people are buying, you know, the ITV2 house. There's them and the missus, the 2 dogs, and they've got a 6-bedroom, 4 ensuite, just ridiculously large house because they want the image. The image is like the toys and it's great. Well, why is it great? Because don't you know interest rates are so low? Right, and if everybody piles in, because isn't it great to have a beautiful big house? Of course it is. So like the desire's strong. And then if you say the money's cheap to borrow, then a strong desire with cheap money to borrow, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have an estate full of Cala homes at 500 grand at 1% interest rate with a couple with turkey teeth and the groomed dogs. Like, it's good times. Like, this is what you see. 2 leased Range Rovers outside, right? Big toys, Instagram lifestyle, turkey teeth. He's got the hair done, she's got the bibs done, and it's high time. Everything's crushed velvet in the living room, everything's pristine, because they are caught up with the euphoria of this market, right? And back in 07, it was the same thing. 07, 08, it was Range Rover Sports, and it's like history repeating itself. And you've just seen the guys that were, you know, pushing the boundaries of it. Now, it's not to criticise them, it's not at all, it's just history does repeat, and it's got signs, and these are the signs that happen. And you've got to pay attention to them. So is the property market goosed? No. Do you want to buy these houses that I've just described? Absolutely not. Where is there a place to shelter in the storm? What do you do? Place to shelter in a storm is if there's any information I could give you from the 08 crash to how to navigate out it, there's the key component that you need to focus on is one word: cash flow.
Yeah.
And that means that whatever you buy, and if you cash flow it, you can ride whatever dip that takes place.
Yep.
So your key thing now is not, can I buy this and is it worth more in 2 years' time and can I sell it? Can I buy it and flip it in 6 months? Can I add value? Because all those types of deals are off the cards at the moment.
And even like property sources and stuff like that. Yeah, it's great at making money. It's a great income, but that could probably be an issue for people as well, because that's maybe somebody that's maybe getting started a year or two ago. That could be their main source of income. That could reduce very, very little as this progresses. So we obviously set up a couple of years ago to build the cash flow side of the business.
How long ago did I tell you about that?
Yeah.
And what have you seen?
Yeah, exactly.
You've seen everything roll out step by step.
When I just started out, it was the sourcing and the refurbs and stuff that was my main income stream. But now, because obviously what we spoke about over the past maybe 2 years, I would say, is building something that is bringing money into the business without you doing much, you know, and that's the cash flow, and that's the service accommodations, and that's where all the cash flow is coming from now. Yes, we're still doing the sourcing and the refurbs, but we have pivoted and we've set ourselves up in a way where if that part of the business doesn't run as well, this is still coming in, you know.
Think of it like this, right? If here's an easy way to get it over to people, right? There's a time to flip properties. You make quick money. So whether it's sourcing, flipping, capital appreciation, there's quick money, which means you can take some money and turn it into a lot more money in a relatively short period of time. Yeah. What you need is a rising market for that, right? And there's signs for a rising market, and that was 10 years ago, right? Now, it isn't 10 years ago, and it's today. So those approaches at the minute aren't in play. You can't do them. And if you do them, you have high risk, and you've got a risk of not only not getting the result, but losing the money that you put up. So what is the strategy? The strategy is to build cash flow. And the reason being is that you can survive this market and you can survive a crash if you're bringing in money that pays your bills and pays your mortgages, right? You cover your costs, you can cover your income, you can cover your bills, right? And this is a strategy that isn't new. There is nothing original here. It is as old as the hills. If you go and ask any seasoned investor what to do when a volatile market, when a crash is impending, right? There is 3 things that they'll tell you to buy, right? They'll tell you to buy stocks with a dividend that are in a defensive sector. They will tell you to buy gold in an inflation environment and cash flowing real estate.
Yeah.
There's the 3 cornerstones of what they invest in.
You've got your Grant Cardones and stuff like that abide by that.
Yep.
The cash flow side of things. And these are big players in the industry. Mm-hmm. Buy the real estate and buy the properties for the cash flow. So it's not just obviously, as they're saying, it's the big players in the game.
Well, this is what I mean is like when we've done some simulations in terms of, right, say you get a client that comes to you, right? So say you've got someone out there that's like, look, I'm really interested in the property market. I've always wanted to do it and I'm in a position to do it, but my timing I think's a little off because I've been listening to your podcast and you're talking a lot about the crash it might be there and I'm worried about it. So should I hold off? And we do some simulations where we say, right, well, here's the things that we tell you to hold off from: the flips, the capital appreciation plays, the bigger stuff, because the interest rate component can really, really hurt them disproportionately to some of the lower priced properties. And if we take our strategy that we would use, which is we buy this property at this price, here's the cash flow it can generate, right? And that cash flow is, say, 20% on the overall purchase of the property, right? If the interest rate's at 5, can you afford it? Yes. If the interest rate's at 7, can you afford it? Yes. If the interest rate's at 10, can you afford it? Yes. Mm-hmm. Right? Go and do that on the flip, the McMansion, the other ones. None of them work. No. Right? There's ones that don't work at 3%, right? Because they only worked at 1. And now we're not at 1, we're at 4. So they don't work. That's why we're warning you about these ones, right? But there's other ones that they work. Yeah. They give you room to breathe because you can cash flow them. And if you cash flow them, then you can buy the income generating real estate. You can cash flow them, they work. You're getting paid to hold the asset. You can be paid to ride the storm.
Yeah.
And because the purchase prices aren't disproportionately high, they're not going to be as affected as some of the other properties will be, because the reason that if you can buy it and they can work and it makes you cash flow, then there's likely other people that will buy it based on that cash flow. So you're not going to have that same dynamic of, well, it worked at 1 and it doesn't work at 4. This thing works at all these different interest rates. So you're shielding yourself, you're giving yourself more protection. And that's why if someone says they want to get into it, should they do it? And it's like, well, if you buy the right stuff, then yes. And that's where you're looking to capture the expertise from guys like yourself who have looked at the numbers, looked at the figures, done the analysis. And, this is the thing that we're putting together where we're saying, right, look, if you want to do it, you can definitely do it. So that's why we've put the done for you service. So if you want this completely done for you and you want us to do it, then great, you can pay for us to do that. If you want to learn how to do this, then great, we've got a property course that will teach you. If you want to go out and do this with your own money, this is what to look for, these are the things. And if you're starting out, then here's the knowledge you need to get up to speed with, so that if you're dealing with your clients, they understand that you have the knowledge to do it. So we're covering off all bases. And even if it's a case of you want some real behind the scenes exclusive information, then that's why we've got the property community, where we say, right, look, if you want to be a fly on our wall, to look at the analysis that we're looking at, to have access to the discussions that we're having, where we're keeping on the cutting edge of what's going on, then you can come in and you can find out what we're talking about. We'll post that in there. Yeah. And that, that's the beauty of being able to do it.
The good thing about that we've just started rolling that out yesterday for obviously everybody on the email list already. So it'll be good to see that starting to come together now, because I feel that the information that we can provide between both of us and all the services that you just mentioned is amazing for people. Especially with what you're prescribing is coming up from your past of being in a crash. So you've maybe got that person that's not been in one yet, and they're looking for the information, and they're looking to get involved in it. And giving people that information is priceless on the way things that are happening just now, you know.
Well, in episode 11, we covered off a really good news article in terms of the response in the property market, and we went through that with a fine tooth comb and maybe suggested it wasn't as positive as they probably had written the article. The spin that they'd put in it wasn't quite as accurate in the real world, and that's what we're doing. And if you're in the property community, and depending on which tier you're in, you can have access to, you know, I'll do daily videos where I'm going over articles that are in there and deciphering them so you can understand what it is that actually means. And then more importantly, what does that mean to you? Like, what can you do with that information? Does that affect you or does it not? If it doesn't, then, you know, don't give it too much thought. If it does affect you, then to what degree? And if it is to a degree, what should you do about it? And that's what you're getting. You're getting that constant feed of information, because the market moves and shifts. It doesn't stay in the same place. So knowledge is power, and to have that knowledge firsthand, have access to it is the key, because that's what you want. You want people that have got, you're tapping into their wisdom and experience, so you can gather that wisdom and experience for yourself.
Yeah. Another part that's in there is obviously what we just covered there is pivoting and putting yourself in a position for a cash flowing business, and that's where I can come in and help and show you what we're doing on a day-to-day basis for investors. If you want it done for you, come on board. We'll show you what to do. We'll show you how we're setting ourselves up so that we've still got cash flow coming in. If interest rates go to 5, 7, 9, 10%, you're still going to make money with a strategy that we know. So as George says, he can show you all that stuff. We can show you this stuff, and it all works together for anybody, if you're experienced and if you're not experienced.
Covers off. I mean, like, for instance, there's a lot of people out there that have been extremely successful in whatever line of work or business that they're in. Maybe they've come into some money, inheritance, whatever, however they've came about it, and they're fascinated to get into the world of property. And it's a great place to get started, and it's a great place to remain, even for seasoned investors. But it can be tricky to navigate. That's why there's a real benefit to having someone that's living and breathing that daily.
It's priceless.
And the service that's there is, right, look, I've got some goals. Can you take those goals and turn them into reality with your help? And that's the service that's there, and not leaving them out in the limb. Because this is the thing this was always the issue with sourcers when I started, is that they made big projections on what a property could do, and then once a property was found, the investor was left to go and fend for themselves. Where if you have a service where you can say, look, it's a one-stop shop, you can have for the most part an armchair investment, which means you can pay for the service, the property will be found, it will be renovated, it will be managed, and you don't need to do anything. Yep. And that is a really attractive idea for people that maybe are scared of how much input do I need to do? And the answer is, you can have as much input as you like. Like, if you want to go and do this yourself, you can purchase our property course. The property course will teach you all the fundamentals of what you need to do to go out and do this. Yep. So you can be the total master of what you do. You can go out and pick it if you've got that level of time. And you want to do that. If you're maybe a bit hesitant and you're like, right, look, maybe I want to get you to do a first few for me while I'm learning, then great, because you'll see how it works whilst you're learning. And if you are like, look, it sounds great, in reality, I'm being honest with myself, I don't actually have the time to do this. Can you do it for me? And what I'd like to do is be part of the community, because I really enjoy this sort of cutting edge information. It's given me the bite-sized info that I can gather the knowledge, and maybe at some point I can start to have a go at myself, but I don't want to miss the opportunity of taking advantage of being able to do it now. So it
covers every angle, doesn't it? I was speaking to one of my investors last night on a Zoom call, because he's a trader. He's been doing it for 20 years now, and I just picked him up and I says, listen, do you fancy jumping on a Zoom, show me what you're doing and give me a couple of insights of how trading works and stuff like that? And he was obviously going on about the courses that people put out for trading and stuff, and he's like, there's probably 5 out of 100 people that will be a genuine trading course.
Yep.
The rest are just bullshitters. And it's probably the same as in property as well. And one thing he said to me on the phone, he's like, it's the people who I'm talking about, the 5% of people who I'm talking about is people like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm working with you, William, because you're on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you're doing. You're actually showing people what you're actually doing yourself.
Yep.
And there's not many people out there that do that. You know, there's a lot of bullshitters who say that they can do it, not just in property but in trading, as he said. You know, so it was good to hear that last night as well on the Zoom with him.
I mean, the thing being is like what happens when someone's really doing it is they get a certain degree of humility, right?
That goes back to the last episode as well, because of what we spoke about of what happened to me.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing everything when I wasn't. You know, so all kind of marries in there, what we're trying to speak about.
And this is the thing, is you can tell the people that have really done it because they have humility. They'll say things like, this is what we're looking for, but, you know, this is projections because it doesn't always go to plan, right? Now, that is, some people that haven't been there would avoid saying that because they would be like, right, look, that's going to set doubt. But it actually does the opposite because it puts a lot of confidence to whoever you're dealing with, because they'll be thinking what you've just said, right? And the fact that you've said it is like, you know what my doubts are, and you've already covered that doubt off. And it's these things where every day you're looking to get better, every day you're looking to improve, every day you have the humility that you don't have it all figured out. Every day you know that there's something that you can improve, right? And no matter how good you are, you always look to find out what that is. And it's something that, you know, when I think now, that's what I'm always trying to do, is always trying to learn the next way of just getting that tweak out of yourself. Because it can be in any aspect. It can be physically, it can be mentally, it can be, you know, your mindset, it can be your approach, it can be your attitude, it can be your consistency, your dedication, the level of discipline that you have. And there's always places we can tighten up. But you need to have the humility. You've not got it all figured out, because that was like we discussed in the previous episode. You thought you'd had it figured out, and you had a real shock when it hit you, when you went, shit, I'm actually quite far away from what I thought I was.
If I was still that person and still doing that same thing before, would that investor invested in me? Probably not. You know,
It would be easy to see through.
yeah.
Because the thing being is, when you're living and breathing it and walking the walk and talking the talk,
you doing it, and they know your understanding, they know your knowledge, you're going to get more business. And as you said, like there's parts in this community and course that we've built that if you're not quite ready, we can help you and we can get you to the next stage, you know.
Yeah, and this is the thing, is like there's people out there, just like to your point about your guy there doing the trading course, he is right. I'm not even sure it's 5 out of 100. I think it's lower than that.
Maybe just a couple, yeah.
I think it'd be lucky if it's 1 or 2 out of 100. And there's a lot of big names that are just not like talking sense, because you go and you say, look, I know, because I've done.
He said he spent thousands of pounds on trading courses over the last 20 years, and he's actually found one guy now that he works with constantly, and he's good and he knows his stuff. But he says it's like anything else. I had to go through all the shit to get to the good. And we've covered that off in the first couple of episodes. Like, you need to put the work in and even investing in yourself and your education for a long period of time to get to that point that you want to get, or crack that person that you need to meet, or that business that you want to work with.
And what I would say to people is, don't be disheartened, because you're going to go through it. Like, right, look, you're going to make mistakes.
Don't tell me that.
Right, you're going. I know you're going to make mistakes. Right, you're going to need to continue to learn. Right, you're never good enough in terms of that. You've never really ever made it. The day that you think you've made it is the day you start going backwards. Right,
Pedestal, mate.
100%. You don't put yourself on a pedestal. Be humble enough. If you're smashing it out the park, go and find it where you can tighten up. Right, and one of the greatest things you can ever do is help someone else along their path. Right, now, the reason they've took the step to do it, it's for the same reason that guy's mentioned there. There is so much nonsense out there. There's very, very few people that I would say, right, look, I think they're absolutely dialed in. And the greatest thing, if I was to say, what can you spot? Go and ask them what their fuck up's been. Say, look, it's great, you're smashing it. What fuck ups you had? Yeah. Because you're going to find out. See if you go, nah, everything's great. Red flag.
Sunshine and rainbows.
See if they go, everything's absolutely pucker. So often. Like, tell me about some of the ones that didn't work. Like, see your trader guy. If a trader's getting 60% of their trades right, they're seriously good. Yeah. So they will know what it's like to not get it right regularly. Yeah.
It's like me. I'm open to tell people about my fuck ups because I don't like. Maybe I'm doing well now and everything's going well, but I'm quite happy to openly tell you that all that happened to me. And I'll share it throughout the episodes, no problem at all.
And the thing being is that you're going to find that you're going to constantly make mistakes because you have traits that lend you to making these sort of decisions based on thinking that you've made it. That's your characteristics. So you're cross-referencing, right? Am I doing the same mistake again? And what you want to do is to make that mistake to a lesser degree and a less often, because you know it's part of you. You know that's part of the way that you move. So what you're looking to do is minimise it so that you grow. And we all have those traits. So it's trying to establish what they are so that you can spot them quick. Yep. And then you can stretch out them really fast. Yep. And that means that you'll face criticism and feedback that you don't like. That's where you find the place to springboard off. Because there's a famous one, they say rock bottom's a trampoline. And it's like criticism's like that. Criticism's like a trampoline. When you get a good critique, spring off it. Yep. And ask yourself honestly, is there anything in what's being said that is true? And can I learn from it? And that's like, because there's just trolls out there. There's going to be people that are just trolls. Yeah. Right, but there's other people. These are the things. Like I was talking about some of the comments that I'd had on Instagram, and you see them, and I'm like, man, there is. And I asked them, I was like, if you can show me what you've based your like opinion on here, I'm open to looking at it, because I've looked at the information, and there's no way I could have formed the opinion that you've got. So it must just be like you picking this out your arse, because I can't see how you get there. And this is where you need to take people's feelings and upset and not make them real. And then you've got other people that have experience and wisdom that are given criticism that you might not like, and you go, well, maybe there's something in it.
I actually like it. I like it, and I like the fact that it might not sound right to some people, and maybe some young up and coming entrepreneurs or trying to be entrepreneurs, or people that's just getting started. Like, I fucking loved all the shit that happened to me. I loved it, mate. Yep. Like, because it got me to a place where I am now. Because see, if that never happened, where would I be? What knowledge would I have? Where would I be in business? So all the shit that's happened to me was fucking amazing, brilliant.
Look forward to it, because the next time you get it is the time that you take the next.
I know how to work it now. Like something happens to me, I know how to sort it. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'll figure out a way to sort it, you know. And the reason why I can do that now is because I've been there, I've done it, I've worn the t-shirt. And if you want to be successful in business, expect fuck ups and expect lumps and bumps along the road, because it's coming. And if you can get through the other side, you're going to do well.
That's as good a place as any to top off this one. It's going to come. If you get into business, expect the bumps. It's going to happen. You will fuck up. It will be you. It will be your fault. And that's part of it. We can't help you. It was part of the process for any of us and all of us. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Diary of a Property Pro. We covered off the market, what it means, false dawns, Northern Rock, the runs in the bank and everything in between, what it's like to go through a crash versus when you haven't been through one, the difference in experience and the difference in wisdom, how you get through your crashes personally and in the wider market, and how to make sure you springboard off them. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. You can get us on all our social media. Check our website out, If you like the idea of any of the services that we're speaking about, whether it's a property course, property community, or the Done For You service, get in touch. The information will be above, below, or at this side somewhere on this video. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.